I think it's important for people to understand the number of steps and the number of people who see a question that goes on a certification exam before it is released to the public.
I would love to see, and we've seen it a couple of times, but I think better coordinated would be more effective, where we all at the same time drop the blog post, drop the LinkedIn post, drop the YouTube video.
So you want to know a secret? And I'm going to say this because it's actually on one of their public pages for recruitment on the certification program. If you join the program to get involved in either writing questions, reviewing questions, those sorts of things, you get the certification without having to take the exam.
Are you manually reassigning JSM tickets when your agents go to out of office? Then you definitely need to try out today's app sponsor, Resolution's Out of Office Assistant for JSM and Jira. Never have your tickets go unassigned when somebody's out of office.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Summer of Atlassian. Today I got the world famous Jimmy with Jimmy Talks Jira. Jimmy, it's always an honor.
Alex, thank you for having me. I always enjoy being able to have a chat together. I think it's always entertaining when we chat. So
this will be much different than last year, because last year I asked you specific questions of which you were onto my ploy from the get-go. I still remember you calling me. I was like, you're fishing for questions.
That's fine.
No, but this year, this time we're gonna have I want to talk about certifications, right? I want to talk about us being content creators, and really, I'm wearing my certified shirt for you because it's the only one I have.
Nice.
And yeah, so I kind of just want to kick things off with, let's walk back to, I guess, what would have been November, December of last year, where we got approached by Atlassian to do the live trainings.
Yeah, I guess it was about that time. Yeah.
So what was that like? How did you engage with Andrew? Like, did you come up with the ideas? Or did he come to you? And like, how did you guys figure out the plan that you had for those first 6 months?
So he reached out to me and said, "Hey, we're starting up this series all about live learnings, and we've got a number of people who are on board who are going to talk about the various products." He said, "You've done a lot of certification things. We were wondering if you would do a monthly, repeat on some of the easier things of getting started for certifications." And I said, "You know what? Send me the link to the information on, what the expectations are, and I'll see if I can work it into my schedule." And so as I'm reading through it, I'm like, you know what would be really cool is, instead of doing a thing on certifications that we repeat constantly.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was pitching, because mine was on repeat. I kind of want to see the differences of the
Yeah, so I thought immediately, and I pitched it to Andrew. I said, "Hey, you want a 6-month commitment. So what if I did a 6-part episode type of series where we'll talk specifically about the general things you should do to prepare your testing, like your environment, whether you're going to home or whether you're going to a testing center, as a whole video in and of itself. And then I'll cover the other 4 remaining things you would need to prepare for individual exams leading up to you being able to be certified. And then, we'll talk about how to renew your certifications as at episode 6." Because the idea was that at the time I'd cover 4 exams that would get you Atlassian certified expert. And then we'd talk about, now, how do you maintain that status? And then, within 2 weeks of me starting to build that plan, we got the announcement from Suzanne that they're doing away with Atlassian certified expert. And it was one of those things where I'm like, okay, so do I just completely throw this out? And it was no, there's still benefits to talking about it. And I really appreciate that brought me closer to the university team, where I do get a lot more information. A lot of it that I can't share even today.
Which I want to talk to you about that as well.
About, the things that they have coming up, so that we can plan when are we going to be able to talk about things. So, like, for example, the being able to, when we did the renewals, the sort of changes for renewals in June, I knew that was coming in March. And, it was one of the things where we were preparing for that to be the thing that we were going to talk about at that time frame. So, yeah.
So I want to dig a little bit deeper into this
Sure.
secrecy stuff, if you will, right? Because my videos, so just for everybody watching, right? We were like we were acquaintances. What's the right word? Because we didn't like co-host a session, but we're both live instructors, right?
Yes.
I just focused on the Jira software admin usability of it, and you were on the certification side. There's a lot of different paths you can take.
Yeah.
And so my stuff is like public domain, right? Like anybody, I wasn't showing any new feature, new hidden thing, right? From Jira. I was just preaching how Jira works. Just
Yes.
the standard stuff that everybody knows. But your stuff, right? You kind of mentioned this where you have to like have to be very careful with what you say, right? Because not everything is public domain.
Yes. So
So was there a
I
little bit
think
more oversight? Like, did you have to share scripts? Did you have to kind of like run things by?
so. I never go on a script.
I don't either. That's why I was kind of
I
curious.
think half of that is because when I started, I didn't start from, oh, I'm going to do something for Atlassian. I actually started doing charity gaming work on Twitch as a live streamer. So when I came over to doing videos, a lot of my things are done in, a one take. And, if I make a couple of stumbles over my words, I just leave them there because that's how a live broadcast works. You stumble on your words, you stumble on your words. So I've never had a script when I've done any of the videos. And I think the live learning instructor format works a lot better for me because it is that live interaction type of thing where, I do have some stuff that I talk about, where, a lot of it is public domain on the university site. And that's all from because that's where my video started was I literally just went to their site, talked about some things, and for whatever reason coming from me instead of from Atlassian, people appreciated it more. So that's where those live learning sessions started. And I think it's one of those things where just the fact that I have both Ree and Joanna are in the chat with me. So anything that
I'll keep you honest.
well, it's more than anything that I don't feel like I should be able to
Sure.
share,
Right.
I punt to them.
And
I will
they'll make the
always
call.
try and give the what I know is public domain answer on things, and if they want to share more, like for example, and I can say this because Ree actually mentioned it in chat, they are working on what the new certified expert path is going to
Right.
be. It's just a TBD. It's coming in the future, but it's one of those things where I didn't know if they wanted to share that it is coming, but since they made it public, you can actually find it in another post on the online community. So it's just
Adam Ree was on the Jura Life talking about, hey, it's coming soon. We're working on it.
So it's one of those things where it's just if they're happy to share that it is coming, then now I can talk about it.
Right.
But, I sort of take direction from them on those things.
And you may remember this. You were our first guest on the Jura Life, physically present at Team 24, where
Oh, was that the very first one?
You weren't the very first one, but you were the very first one where we realized we had an oh crap moment, right? Because when we scheduled these things, right? If you recall, right, you were our keynote predictions
Yes.
guest, right? And we're excited, and then Bob and Ronnie and I, we came to a sudden realization. We're like, wait, hold up, we just attended a little what's coming in the keynote presentation. So we're under NDA until after your live stream. So that was the first time when we realized, like, wait, maybe having inside information is not the greatest thing in the world, because now we have to be more careful.
Yes, I think that's exactly the statement is you need to be more careful. I like to think I do a pretty good job. I mean, Joanna has yet to yell at me for anything. So I like to think I do a pretty good job of treading that borderline carefully on knowing what can be talked about and what can't be talked about. And generally speaking, I try to lean more towards the say nothing versus, saying too much.
Right. And I'm the opposite, right? Which is why I just don't even sign up for these events anymore. Like, I know that as a creator, right, we get access to like, hey, here's some NDA stuff here, and here's like some cool new things. I'm like, my mouth is a loose cannon here when it comes to Atlassian. I don't want to I don't want to like risk saying something incorrectly or just so I just don't even I'd rather not know about it.
Yeah, at the same time though, like I did an article recently where I pitched it to Joanna and Ree as I think this would be a cool thing to talk about. And then that led into me being directly involved with a few members of the university team to help me write the article in a way that was, in line with what they were comfortable with me sharing. And it was a look behind the curtains on the how a certification is made so that, we can, because I think it's important for people to understand the number of steps and the number of people who see a question that goes on a certification exam before it is released to the public. And I'm fortunate enough to be involved in a lot of those processes, and I'm not going to stop. Like, I'm going to regularly be involved in things that I just can't talk about until they go public. But I love doing those sorts of things because my hope is that by me being involved, I can help make sure that the certifications are fair, I guess is the best way to put it.
No, absolutely right. There's definitely benefits to it, right? Like I used to I just came from that classified life. I don't know. Have you ever worked defense contracts ever? I don't know how they are in Canada.
I have been a vendor that works with defense companies.
Okay. So here in the US, right, we have clearance levels, right? Like
Yep.
secret, top secret. And you're not allowed to share any of that information with anybody, right? And I remember one time I was in a closed air meeting, and the beautiful part, the part that I love about at least that classified life is that it's clearly labeled, right? You know exactly what is and what isn't classified. We're in this meeting, and you assume that the whole thing's classified, but then the guy went off script. The guy goes off script, and he's like, "This part's not. This part is. This part's not." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I'm just gonna forget that this meeting ever even happened in my brain because for me to not to be so careful and not mess it up, I think I just have trauma, right? I'm like, the last thing I want to do is end up in an orange jumpsuit type of thing. So I now just actively stay away from these like you can't talk about it because I'm like, is there just a level of anxiety in my life where had if I slip a secret, like it's jail time, right?
Yeah, no,
Obviously,
I
an
get
Alaskan
that.
is not as grave, but that's just the trauma that I'm carrying from that
Yeah,
class.
no,
That
so Northrop Grumman was a customer of a vendor I previously worked at that wasn't a Atlassian competitor. So I'm very familiar with them renaming some of the structure of things we needed to look at in log files to various like pet animals like fish and dog and cat just to hide the things that they don't want us seeing.
right? Yeah,
But
no,
yeah,
it's so interesting. I just secrecy in general, right? Which is an interesting thing because when you look at Atlassian, right, like secrecy is not something that comes to mind, right? Like
yep.
so it's got to be an interesting balance that you do because I can appreciate the secrecy, right? I can appreciate like, hey, we're not quite ready with the details. What I would like to see, and I know that I probably mentioned this to you, and I mentioned this to many others before, right? I would love to see, and we've seen it a couple of times, but I think better coordinated would be more effective, right? Where we all at the same time drop the blog post, drop the LinkedIn post, drop the YouTube video, right? On whatever topic it is, but all of us as the 100 creators that we are now, like together in unison, we just like have it pre-scheduled to drop.
I know why we don't, and I think that's it's you have to look at the topics that are being discussed, right? And does that match necessarily the audience that you are
It's
aiming towards?
right. Well, yeah, I mean, it makes sense when you're like the cert guy, but like myself, who I'm just a generalist, I can talk about certs, I can talk about Jira, I can talk
Yep.
about Confluence, I can talk about whatever comes comes our way, right?
At the same time, do you want the exact same post
Wouldn't be the
from?
exact same post, right? But like look at when Apple drops a new iPhone, right?
Yep.
MKBHD does theirs, iJustine does hers. They're their own takes, but they drop at the same time, right? Like the embargo lifts, and we all publish our respective information. And it would be kind of cool if it either coincided directly when Atlassian does their formal press release, or maybe just like a tad before. to kind of give the creators a little bit more, because I think it would hype up their posts more.
No, that's a good point. I think I'm also the wrong person to talk to because I am the last person who cares about measuring traffic of things. So I would happily be a week behind everyone else, and I could care less. So,
yeah, no, I was just talking about more like on the topics of like sensitivity of sharing information, right? Like just having a little bit more coordinated effort when it came time to maybe if you knew something, right? It'd be cool like if the rest of us can like also kind of post about it, right? To either amplify that message or all of us not be in trouble in case you and I were in conversation. You're like, hey, Alex, did you know this? And I'm like, no, I don't. Right. And then I will talk about it, and then I'm not supposed to talk about it. You weren't supposed to tell me.
Yeah. And,
like
that's why I haven't mentioned anything about, any of the certifications that are coming up unless you've gone and looked to see what's coming.
Yeah. So I do. So let's transition a little bit, not directly into that, but the second half, right? So you covered the first 6 months. You did your renewals. You did the how to get started. You did the ACPs. What's the second half of the year look like for you?
So if you read the tea leaves, what's been coming out recently are the associate certifications. And there's quite a few of them that have already come out. So I looked at sort of a schedule of things, and that kind of was what made the most sense. Is there are enough associate certifications that are either out today or are going to be out by the end of the year that I can fill kind of the rest of the schedule, and then also talk about what does the new certified expert standing look like, which we'll slot in at some point based on when Atlassian's ready to make those public.
So what do you think about the ACAs relative to the ACPs?
I think they're a fantastic idea, and the reason for that is there are many people who are interested in earning a certification but do not have enough experience and skill set as an administrator, because they're not administrators half the time of these types, that they're kind of left out in the cold and not able to earn a certification when they're interested in it. And I think the associate certifications are geared at understanding the product from an end user perspective at sort of a power user level. And this just gives them a way to show that they have an interest in things. I mean, anyone who earns an associate certification, I think, are your candidates for becoming project administrators, full administrators in the future, because they clearly show that they have drive to want to learn more about them.
Now, as far as prestige goes, do the ACAs get you something like this, or do they have like a different category for?
I don't know exactly what swag is coming out for what things. I do know that there are definitely the Certmetrics badges that you can put on, your various online profiles.
Mm-hmm.
So they're definitely officially recognized in some standpoint. I'm sure if you talked to Ree or Joanna about the fact that you may have earned X number of them, they could probably hook you up with some swag. But
I was just curious because when you take your first ACP, this is the one they ship you, right? They just they send you that shirt. So I was just curious if the ACAs have something similar when you first take your first ACA.
I don't know that they do.
I was also, to be very honest, I was devastated is a strong word, but I took the ACP 520, right? Yes. And I was devastated when recently over the last couple of months, I've been working with someone. We're exploring the partner path for us, right?
Okay.
An Atlassian solution partner. ACP 520 doesn't count. They don't recognize it as an official one. So now I'm wondering, like, so should ACP 520 be an ACA 520? Because it doesn't have the same recognition. Like, it's interesting how Atlassian picks and chooses what valuable and what not valuable.
Yeah, that I didn't actually know that one. That's a good thing to know. That the 520 doesn't get, and especially since I would argue that is the hardest one that has come out thus far.
Really, because that's the one everybody says is the easiest one. I just took it just to take it, but
maybe I have lived so long in Jira that doing anything Jira is super easy to me. But when you start talking about the difference between an API token and an API key, and a like the thing that I found challenging about that one was that it's very nuanced in the language.
My challenge with it was
versus
the UI, even though none of the tests had to do with the UI. But I entered the ring with Ree and Joanna and go,
yeah.
hey, like this test is challenging from the simple fact that you guys have 3 variants of how the system works, right? And for a normal, I would assume that for a normal Jira administrator, you are the administrator of a company, right? You are hired
Yep.
by that company. You use that company's Jira. Awesome. You hopefully you get lucky, and of the 3 UIs that are available, you have the one that's on the test.
Yes, that
Right?
is a very good point.
But I'm across all 3 all day long. So when I see something about site admins on the test, what's on the test does not coincide with my reality, right? Site admins
Yep.
work very differently than how the test says that they work.
Oh yeah, that whole debate. And I think the thing that made it worse around the time I was taking it is they dropped a number of changes like a week before I wrote. So I was right for the exam. It was the perfect time for that, but just the number of people who were starting to study and were saying, this is not true anymore." So
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. I talked to in depth with Joanna and Ria about it, right? Because I almost asked them like, well, I've asked them before, like, how do you stay in sync with the product team, right? Because the product team is changing. Whatever bright idea they have is a direct impact to the test,
yes.
right? And I feel like you have to be. I was so we just had Ree on the pod here on the Jura Life. I was so impressed with her technical skills of Jura. I was just like mind blown. I was like, wow, you know Jura, like
She's smart.
yeah. And I think you need that, right? Because if you're going to be if you're going to be governing at the level that they're doing, right? Like you can't just be react to the changes of Jira. Like you have to
Yeah.
be in there with the changes as they're happening with the product teams.
And I think it's also careful balance of, and again, this goes into, it's easier within their company to not have to worry about NDA as much, but it's just at what level do you start rewriting an exam based on new functionality before more new functionality comes out that makes the changes you just wrote
Obsolete.
irrelevant?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a sensitive thing. Like it's you got to stay on top of it because it'll it'll grow its legs and get out of underneath you quickly. Which is why they're kind of still pushing back on the whole practicum thing because I feel like as an admin, I hate taking tests. It's the only reason I don't have the rest of the certifications. Because I think everybody's like, Alex, I've used your videos to pass a dumb test. You can pass the test. You made the video, right? And it's been kind of like, I guess at this point it'd be kind of silly to not take them, right? But just the anxiety I get in taking the test, it's almost as bad as my dumb anxiety from holding a secret.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to think why do you have troubles writing tests?
Writing or taking them?
Well, taking them.
Well, first, I think the biggest anxiety right now is I do this publicly, right? So I think in the past, if I failed, it's a private failure. Maybe I tell my wife, maybe I don't, right? But right now, me taking the test, like the guys hype it up, right? Ronnie and Bob are just like telling everybody and their mothers that Alex is gonna go take a certification. So the stakes are high to pass, right?
I see. Yeah, because I mean, I don't know.
I
I
mean,
guess the stakes have always been high for
imagine
me.
if you failed the certification.
What? Yeah, I mean, and I was going for just trying to get the certified expert standing. I am the Jira guy at my company. There are a lot of people who know who I am, and there were a lot of people who knew that I was taking the time off to go to the center to do that. So, yeah, I mean, stakes are high, and I think you just need to sometimes just roll with it.
Yeah,
So,
no, and that's really all it is, right? Because I think I use Jira enough to sit there and read a question, but I think that's where my second problem lies is because I use Jira so much. I think Jira is a very subjective tool, right? Like
yes, it
I feel like
is.
I feel like I can craft Jira to do whatever I want it to do, right? But the test is very objective, and
Yeah.
that's kind of where like I can challenge the question and not necessarily get the right answer, but it's right in me. It's right for me, and that's I think that's the second struggle where it's like I'd probably walk out of a test going, no, that's not how I would do it.
So you want to know a secret? And I'm going to say this because it's actually on one of their public pages for recruitment on the certification program. If you join the program to get involved in either writing questions,
Right?
reviewing questions, those sorts of things, you get the certification without having to take the exam.
Joanna and Ree have been telling me like you should apply for this meet program, and I'm kind of thinking about. I told Joanna and Ree the very first time I met them. I'm like, ladies, if you guys want like a guinea pig test taker, because I'll think out loud through the test, and just to give them the feedback of what my reaction to the question.
So I'll say this much because, again, this is all public knowledge. I have put it out there already. It has been stamped by Atlassian. The process of reviewing the questions. So you get down past it's been written, it's been peer reviewed into, trying to remember exactly what the term was for it. Excuse me. So the idea behind it is you're going to be given the entire catalog of questions and you're going to go in 2 rounds. One is going to be a blind review where they want you to answer the question based as if you were going to be coming in to take the test, and you're going to give how a difficulty rating on that question, and then you can put in some notes on it. And then they're going to have you do a second round where you get to see what the correct answer is, and you get to see how you answered it the first time so that you can see whether, and I will share, I have totally fallen for one of the incorrect answers and then said, hey, I think this thing was a really good fake out, and that was actually the right answer. So, it's just that might be where you would shine, and you don't have to do all the stages. You can pick and choose what you have time for. So
I definitely
maybe I'm just going to make another recruitment and say maybe you should get involved.
Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely do want to. I just again, testing and me just don't go hand in hand. I wish I could test. I wish I think that would be a skill that I would want to have, but I chicken out of any test, like DMV related, anything related, anything that requires you to test. I don't know what it is about testing. It's like a white. I have the same problem. I don't have blood pressure problems, but every time I go to the doctor, as soon as they check my blood pressure, it's like at 1,000.
Oh, really?
Every
Wow.
time, and it's just like the fear of numbers being high causes my numbers to go high. So
Having my blood pressure taken is making my blood pressure go up.
exactly, that's exactly what it is. So they say they call it white coat syndrome. It's got like a name.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, because I've actively talked to doctors about this. I'm like, guys, I check this thing at home. I check it at the machine at like the Walmart or whatever. And like it's never high, but every time I'm with you, it's like I ran a marathon. Like,
yeah.
so I'm like, I don't have a problem. I think it's just you're the problem.
It sounds like it's going back to that whole, there's someone's going to judge you for what the values are, right? The doctor's right there. You want your numbers to be good because otherwise the doctor's going to judge you on it. You
Right.
don't want to fail a test because you think that everyone else is going to judge you on how well
Maybe
you
it's just
did.
a judgment thing, yeah. But then I sound hypocritical because I make videos on the internet that get judged every day.
And you don't care.
And I honestly I don't even read the comments. I just automatically hit delete because it's so funny. Like I'll get a comment from someone saying like, this is the worst video I've ever seen in my life. Like you're stumbling through this at the beginning and like you finally just have to fast forward to like 3/4 of the way in to actually get that 30 seconds that you actually need. And then I'll get a comment saying like, this video changed my life.
Yeah.
Like, I've been struggling for this for months, yet I have yet to find anybody that can explain what I needed the way you just did so eloquently. And so it's like it's such a wide spectrum that I'm like, I just don't need to read them anymore. I'll glance at them and just hit the delete key real quickly, but I don't respond to comments anymore.
I respond to comments because I think at this point the only person who comments on like my community roundups is Andy Gladstone, and I mean I kind of feel like I have to respond. So yes,
Yeah, Andy's I've spoken to Andy about this in the past too, because talking about pressure, right? Everything that I do, I usually have Andy in mind, right? And I tell Andy that I see him as a very big fatherly figure, right? Like he's kind of like a baseline of quality, right? Not just quality, but also integrity, right? Because it's very easy for me to just say, hey, buy this, buy that. I'll give you this, but you gotta buy this first, right? Like it's very easy to turn this influence that and this reach that I have, or that we have, right? Because you have quite the good reach as well. But it's very easy to lose your integrity real quickly with it, right?
yes,
Right? Like even you when you do your live streams, right? It'd be just a millisecond for you to say, you know what, I'm not donating the money, right? I'm not saying that you would ever do that, right? But like it's so
you get
easy.
money. I don't get
I
money.
know, right? I thought you have your donation streams that you do that you raise for charity.
Yeah, okay, I see where you're going. Yeah,
I'm just saying, like like you have to have high integrity to not cheat the world, right? Like if it was anybody else that just has no integrity, they'd be like, yeah, I'm doing this, but I'm secretly doing something else, right? So I see Andy Glasson as like that person that you don't want to let him down. So you raise your integrity, you raise your quality, you raise your commitment, you raise everything to not. I'm going to use the wrong word, but not to upset him because I know he's not going to get mad. But I don't want to let him down.
you don't want to disappoint him.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah,
So every time I hit record, I'm thinking of Andy and like, what would Andy say? I'm already anticipating the comment. I guess is the reason I went down this route because
WWAS, is that the new
yeah,
hashtag?
yeah.
What would
Andy
Andy say?
And I know I've told him before, like, and we've had a walk on the beach talking about it, but yeah, it's again added pressure, right? Like you try to do right as much as you can.
Yeah,
That's that's a summary of what a content creator is.
yeah. I mean, that's exactly it. I got into doing this just as a standpoint of I wanted to try and bring people into the online community because there's so many people there that can help you get the answers you need, and I wanted to use other mediums to try and tell people how how much help they can get without having to, look too hard for it.
Yeah. Have you ever thought of branching out beyond certifications? Because you obviously know how Jira works.
So when I started the channel, I called it Jimmy Talks Jira because two reasons. A, that really rolled off the tongue and was easy
It's
for people to
such a
remember.
beautiful name. Beautiful name.
And at the time, Jira was kind of the thing I was looking at the most, even though the very first series of videos I did was all about Atlassian Access, because that's what people needed help getting set up on. I did, I think, one certification video for PM72 because Biro Nikki asked if I had anything to contribute. I'm like, I'm not a project manager. I'm not a product owner. I really don't have a lot to contribute here. I said I could talk certifications because I've done a couple and people really enjoyed the video of that. So I kind of found the niche of just talking certifications. It wasn't my intended plan to get there. It's just there aren't very many people talking about it. And I think I've kind of stayed here because I want to do the thing that no one else is doing. It's why the Mr. J Saves the Day. I don't know if you saw that book at I think it was Team 23.
Yeah. I think I have a copy, yeah.
So I did a video of just me reading the book because I thought it'd be funny.
Yeah.
So yeah, I try and do things that not anyone else is doing because I could literally talk endlessly about how to set up a Kanban board. You've done that. Tons of other people have done that. People don't need to hear me do it now. They can go. I would rather point them at you and say, hey, go see what Alex has done because he's already covered all of this. You don't need to watch me do a similar video. So
right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense then. I hadn't really thought about it from that perspective. But yeah, I mean, the riches are the niches, right?
there you go.
I think better you than me is what I'll say. Talk about thirds. Because I did my live stream. I don't know if you saw or caught or but I didn't. So I did a broken down live stream, right?
The 521?
Yeah, the 520. So
I have pointed many a people at that specific live stream. In fact, the live stream I did talking about the 520 exam, I specifically brought up your playlist for that and said, go watch this because it will be beneficial.
yeah, so I had the playlist, but I also just shipped it as an 11-hour video.
Oh, God.
Like, just one giant long 11-hour video exists of that ACP 520. And I really like that, right? I wasn't sure if I wanted to do it, right? Because again, I hate being wrong, and I'm being wrong on the internet. But it was a very rewarding experience. I think one, it helped me pass the test, and two, the amount of people that came to me at Teams saying like, "I watched your whole live stream and passed the test," like it was just overwhelming. Like I was in tears.
Yeah,
because I never set out. So I think with your niche, right? Like you touch lives.
I don't know if I go that far, but
You do, right? Because people, I think these certifications, like I can help people again add a status or column to their board. Awesome, cool. But their careers are way more correlated to their certifications or their education. Right. And I think you have a much greater potential for impacting the trajectory of somebody's career, like with your content, with the things that you do versus something that I do. I think I help them with their day job, right? But I
that's
think
what gets them paid, though, man. So
I don't know. I mean, this is why I love the creators program, right? Like we just have such diversity of like different, like we got Rob focusing on the Confluence side, right? And again, better him than me because I'm not the biggest fan of Confluence. And then we all know my love-hate relationship with Trello.
yes.
And so yeah, it's kind of cool. But I don't know if you saw, but recently I was telling Lauren, or I told Lauren, I was like, for these awards, right? I see you got yours stacked there.
Yep, I do.
And so we'll talk about what they are for in a second, right? But I was telling Lauren, like, I think we're gonna need a new category, right? Because I see so many more collaborations happening, right? Where maybe a couple of us get together to do something cool. And you've seen that with Brittany, Andy, and Mike Day with the Trailblazers, right? Like that's a whole
Yep.
group effort. We got the Jira Life as a whole group effort. And if I can see a couple people, like you might get together with a couple of other certification experts and talk more videos of just
Maybe.
certifications, right? So I think it's going to be critical that going forward, like that content creator program is more group based than just individual too.
I think it's one of those things where this year it was so new, they wanted to recognize it in some way, and I think they sort of gave it to Lauren to come up with the how she wanted to do that initial one. Because if you look at the number of the other awards, a bunch of them are years of the community leader program. What's that?
I said all of them were like years. Mine was the first one.
Yeah, but that's the point, is they've had many years to sort of see what makes sense for the program that's been there for since like 2017, I think.
Right.
So I think you're right. I think it would be beneficial for them to look at more than just a single one, and the possibly reaching out to us on what would you strive for to try and earn.
Yeah, I think that's very critical because I mean, just oversharing here. And I've had the similar problem. One of the teams that I work with, I got Employee of the Year once, right? And I got it accidentally, just very similar to the way I got this one, right? Like I just showed up and did my job, right? Like just happened to do it better than most, I guess. I don't know, apparently, right? But the biggest existential crisis question I had was like, okay, so now that I hit that, where's my next peak? Because I've gotten that, so I'm like, so now I don't feel as compelled to post, right? And I didn't even know I was being graded in the first place the first time around, right? But now it's like I'll look at the challenges and stuff like that. I'm like, I don't know that I can participate in them, but I don't think I'll get a second one. So
I think it's less for me about trying to earn the rewards, and why did I start in the first, like I didn't start to earn an award, right? So I think as long as you keep reminding yourself of why did you get into this in the first place? For me, it was all about trying to bring people into the community. Well, there are new people getting into the Atlassian ecosystem every single day. So that's new people that need to be told that the community exists and they should be in there because it's awesome every single day. And that's why I do it. That's why I keep going back.
That's so interesting though, because you have all the certs, right?
Technically, I don't. I am
well,
missing a couple, but
well, that's kind of what I'm trying to get to. Like, but let's assume, for argument's sake, you have them all, right?
yeah,
Why have them all?
why not?
Well, to say, well, why? Like nobody knows I have ACP 520.
Well, I mean, I think a few people know.
Well,
You
few
put a
people know
video
that,
out about
but
it,
you can go to
so
my profile and nobody would know.
that's
Right?
fair.
Right. And so I think it comes back to your saying, like, I took it because I got peer pressured into it, not for any other reason, if I'm being honest. Right.
Yep.
But what does a piece of paper say about your skills, right? Like you're saying, like you do it because it's valuable to you. It's meaningful
So
to you.
I've talked about this many a times as to why I do the certifications. The first one started for me as imposter syndrome problems. I worked at a relatively toxic environment where there were many people who didn't know what they were talking about, but acted as though they did, and were very quick to tell me that I didn't know what I was talking about when managing a project,
So
even though
then
I've been managing the projects for a number of years. So that to me was validation that I'm not crazy. I do actually know what I'm talking about when I'm mentioning these things. And so continuing to do it, part of it's the Pokemon in me of, trying to collect everything. Part of it is just proving to myself that I do have a wide breadth of knowledge about the Atlassian ecosystem. And, if someone comes to ask me something about Confluence, yes, I can have an intelligent conversation about it. The same way I can have an intelligent conversation about JSM, because I've had enough experience to earn the certifications that say I can have a piece of that conversation.
But what about the paper tigers out there? The people that just want to do the certification, but still don't really understand the product.
I think everyone has their own motivations as to why they want to do things. And if you're there just to get the paper and leave, I think you have missed my live stream about the renewal process and how they've changed it, because they have made, in my opinion, it's a change for the better. Instead of you having to earn a badge, or you have to retake the certification, it's about continuous learning, being involved in the community, taking more university courses, and then using those credits to renew all of the active certifications you have.
Yeah, no, that's definitely valuable. I think is the right word, right? It's
Yes.
because it's putting back in more than you take, right? And I think it's very, very critical. We're down to the last 10 minutes, Jimmy, and I need to ask you something very important.
Yes, sir.
Not only am I jealous of all the certs you have, just kidding. No, but seriously, the jealousy right now is in that background. Like, walk me through this majestic.
Oh, my background.
Yeah, this collection of collections that you have.
So, I have tried to mix both worlds. Obviously, one dominates more than the other. So, I started
here.
I started doing live streams for Extra Life, which is a charitable organization that works with the Children's Miracle Network of hospitals. So I'd play games, random assortment of games on Twitch, and I wanted something that, could be a bit of a conversation starter for the background. That has worked in my professional career as well, because there are many people who recognize a lot of the things there. So, across the top, I've got a bunch of my boxes of things, anything from Final Fantasy 14 to StarCraft 2 to Assassin's Creed to World of Warcraft Cataclysm, and then, a couple of statues up top. The top middle row is nothing but games. That is everything from the PlayStation 5 down to the PSP. In that second corner, I've put a bunch of more of my work things. So I work for a company called Arctic Wolf. So there's a lot of wolf things involved in that. I found it really funny that the Atlassian creator doll was also a wolf. The 10 award is one that I am ex-
What
specifically
is
proud
that?
of.
That one stands out a lot. You got a
That
bright
one is from the online community. If you remember the old level system, they will say that level 9 is one that doesn't exist. And then level 10, at the time that I earned it, I was the 7th person in the entire online community to earn a level 10 award, which is all about a well-rounded um, contributions. So, you need to be writing articles, you need to be answering questions, you need to be engaging in content, you
You
need to
do
be
the
asking questions.
the Friday something, no? Or something like that?
I do a Welcome Wednesday post.
Okay.
I organize the Friday Fun. I participate in a bunch of other ones. So I have a well-rounded activity in the online community. So earning the 10, which very few people have, was special to me.
Why don't you work at Atlassian?
When?
Why don't you work at
Why
Atlassian?
don't I work at Atlassian?
I mean,
Because they
if
haven't
any,
offered me a job. That's why.
I'm like, if any like random person off the street walks into the stream, they're gonna assume
I
that they
know.
work at Atlassian.
The 3 awards that I have there, the top one is a for being involved in the community advisory board, which is the short version of that is trying to make the community a better place. So there's a bunch of people who, from the online community, events leaders, things like that, get together with the Atlassians to talk about how we can make the leader program better. I did that for 2 years. The 2 awards underneath that, the bottom one I earned in 2020 as I believe that the writing on it is the Rising Star, which is kind of the a standout rookie of the year type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the one above that is the one I'm more proud of, which was in 2021, and that was the Leader's Choice Award. And I'm more proud of that one because that was gifted to me by the other leaders nominating me as the leader to stand
The
out.
leader
So
of the pack. But how did
leader
you
of the
get
pack, yeah.
21 if our team wasn't a thing, right?
It was all virtual. And I'll be honest, I kind of preferred it that way because I
You didn't
was
want to
able
be
to hide behind my camera and not have to get up in front of a whole bunch of people.
Did-
So that was back to back that I got to not have to stand up in front of a bunch of people to accept an award, and
Did
I'm
you
kind of
see
okay
me?
with that. I did see you.
I
I
was
felt bad for you, but at the
I
same
was,
time I was laughing too.
I was crying. I was like,
Yep.
I was
Yeah.
never more overwhelmed in my life.
I'm talk to Funman Andy. He might be the one who still has it. They got a really good picture of me from 2021 before I was able to get my camera off. So, yes.
Andy.
Yeah, and then coming down the middle, there's a bunch of most of those are amiibos from the Nintendo Switch, but they double as just shelf decorations.
Yeah, I got a few. Oh, man, let me see if I can do something here.
So and then I just adorned it with a lava lamp, one of those electric balls, and some lights, and had some fun with it.
So I have.
I see them up there.
Do a better job. Yeah, I got all my amiibos all the way across the top.
Nice.
And I have 2 shelves full of just nothing but games.
That's
mostly
awesome.
Xbox 360. Mostly. And then just a bunch of books. And then I love Toy Story, so I have pretty much all the ones up there from Toy Story because I grew up with
That's cool.
One of my favorite.
I like that. That's really good.
But yeah, they don't usually make it into the thing. Usually here I just have in the main video you'll see my Atlassian A that I made accidentally.
Nice.
So, well, Jimmy, it's always a pleasure, and you're one of my favorite people in the Atlassian ecosystem.
Alex, thanks for having me on here. I really appreciate it.
So far away, you're one of the few that I would just love to see more.
I mean, technically, I'm a little bit closer now. It's just harder to get to me from any reasonable traveling.
Oh, yeah, you just moved, huh?
I did. Yeah, I was closer to Toronto. I was about an hour outside of Toronto. I'm now 2 hours south of there, just outside of London in Ontario, Canada. So, yes.
Hold up. So that means when you did your post and you said London, you weren't talking about the real London. You were talking about the Ontario London.
Yes, I was talking about fake London, not real London.
Uh, that makes more sense.
Yes.
I gotta not speed read through posts, man.
Yeah, so I think I'm now probably about an hour and a half to 2 hours away from the Detroit border.
I was gonna say, doesn't that put you a little closer than to the US?
It does, yeah. So
Canadians, man. The only thing I know about Canada is from How I Met Your Mother and Aunt Robin.
oh man, so I'm gonna say this much: there are a lot of stereotypes that they put in that show. A number of them are accurate. So
Good. So then I know, because I like to tell all Dan Toombs, right? I'm like, the only thing I know about that London is whatever's in Ted Lasso. That also my soccer knowledge or my football knowledge is also whatever's in Ted Lasso. Because if it ain't in Ted Lasso, I don't know a whole lot about it.
Cool.
But that's cool. That you're, I guess, a little bit closer to the States.
Yep.
I'm still working on that passport, so we'll see if I ever go to Canada.
I would love. If you're still working on the passport, are you actually planning on going to Team 24 Europe?
I don't think I'd get the passport in time to make that call. So I don't know. I was gonna get it on Friday. I chickened out because the place I went to gave me a hard time. So I was like, you know what?
I don't think they make you take a test for that one.
They don't, but I had to go. Like, I had to have copies of my stuff. I'm like, what?
Okay, yeah.
I'm like, I had all my paperwork, but they just wanted photocopies. I'm like, why would I bring a fake paper instead of the real paper? Like, if you want a copy, you make the copy yourself.
Yes, exactly.
Apparently, our state government is very poor here in California, and that they make you bring your own copy. So I'm like, this is too much of a hurdle for something I don't even want.
That's fair.
So I walked away from it, but I don't know. I think there's value in me getting it. I just also don't necessarily feel like I want to do a 12-hour flight.
I can understand that. So, I mean, I'd do it if it weren't for the fact that kids are going to be in the middle of school. My wife would kill me for going to Barcelona without her. And I don't see a reasonable way to make that work. And then also, because I was at Team 24 in Vegas, the business case of me going to Europe where it's just so what's going to be different about this one than the Vegas one? And I'm going to be like, there's nothing different. It's just smaller. So, yeah. I think it's just a hard sell all around for me.
In Barcelona.
Yeah.
All that matters. Yeah. But anyway, again, I'd love to see you more than just once a year, though. So maybe we'll figure something out. All right, Jimmy. Well, thank you again. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Remember, our sponsor today is Resolutions Out of Office Assistant for Jira and JSM. Never manually reassign a ticket ever again and have this amazing app do it all for you.